because I
That's
can't.
my name.
I can't.
That ain't never happened to me before.
Stop. I can't go there, dude.
Room.
Out of control. We owned it. You like baseball, right? We owned it.
You like apples? How about them apples?
Let's get it going. We don't need a countdown. We're just going to play this. It doesn't matter.
Oh, welcome back, guys and gals, to the Fish Lyfe podcast. You're right, my left. You're late for a guy, Billy Lawson.
This
Hey,
guy.
I didn't even pause that time.
Didn't pause. Didn't hesitate. You didn't have to think about which way was
Well, I
right.
got in trouble last time, so
I'm
the
just-
whole way over here, I was like, you're right, my left, you're right, my left, you're right, my left, you're right, my left.
I'm just really glad that doing this podcast is helping you be more educated and learn and progress as a human being.
I'm driving down the road going, you're right, my left, and then I had to take a right, and that just threw me all off. So I had to, the whole way down the road, I was like, you're right, my left, and then another right turn, I was like, dang it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have to remember
does
this.
not surprise me one bit.
Oh, man.
Listen, I'm laughing because I'm just as dumb as you are. So
Oh man, hey, so let's give a little update. The fishing we've had, the weather's been interesting.
well, you know, I'm not fishing on the weekends these days with my boys, and soccer season has started. And Sundays I kind of use to catch up on editing and film this podcast and all that
Right.
stuff. So I don't fish over the weekend, but what has unfolded is going at the end of last week, it was real tough. Like real tough. We were on a pretty hard cold trend. 27-degree morning followed by a 35-degree morning was the last 2 days I fished. And those 2 days were some of the toughest days we've had this year. I mean, they were really tough. Just a few bites, not a lot of bites to go around. But since Friday, we've had serious warming trend. We had a north wind day, but we got a south wind tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a southwest wind sustained at 10 miles an hour, 10 to 15. That's perfect for what, we like to fish this time of year on a warming trend. We're going to have cloud cover all day. I mean, tomorrow and Tuesday, if we can get it in with the rain, and even Wednesday, if we can get it in with the rain, man, we ought to have some extremely good. These are some of the days we wait for, we live for in a pre-spawn period.
Yep.
The beautiful part about it is that's going to put some of these fish and lock them on beds that are already sitting there almost there, because we've got some folks that are almost there.
Mm-hmm.
They're cruising. They're around. We've even had some that have got up on beds already. So this warming trend will make some of them get on beds for sure, and it'll bring that next wave that's been kind of hanging out there, suspending, and put them up on the shallow pre-spawn staging / feeding areas. And once that happens, it doesn't matter if we get a little bit of a cool trend, as long as it's not too hard. It's just going to be every day. Like we're fixing to get into that mode where it's going to be most days are going to be really good days. Spring fishing is here. I would say as of now, spring fishing is here, and most days should be good days. I'm not telling you won't have a bad day where you struggle. That's the nature of the game, but we're here. It's time, boys.
This is one of those times of year, especially the beginning right now. If you've got a couple hours after work to go, you need to go.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, this is the time of year when those big fish can show up any place, anytime in those predictable areas. And the viewers of this podcast, listeners of this podcast, if they're listening on the Audible format, the Audible Hut, if they're listening on audio format through the podcast deal through iTunes or Podbean, wherever they're hearing it, or if they're listening on YouTube, you guys are consuming this at the end of the week, going into the weekend. Well, we're discussing this at the beginning of the week, okay? So by the time we get to the end of the week, it's going to be cooled back off again. But I've looked, and what I'm seeing at the extended forecast is not going to do anything to deter these fish. Like, it may slow it down a little bit, but it still should be pretty darn good fishing.
And you got a similar, not as much, but a similar type situation happening towards the end of this week too. So
Correct.
So it should be a good well into the weekend. Yeah, I'm excited. These fish are fixing to get caught.
Yeah, there's fixing to be a lot of fish get caught. Sorry, I got a text message. Lost my train of thought. I apologize to all the viewers out there for that.
Omaha.
Yeah, we need an audible format now, don't we? So, what were we talking about?
We're talking about fish.
We're doing good about going off the rails. We're breaking records. We did it inside of 5 minutes tonight. We're off the rails. Fishing, yes. Warm trend.
No, we're saying the fish that are up, ready to dominate right now.
Yeah, I had an idea that I wanted to follow it up with. Now it popped back in my the big swim bait. I get asked all the time, hey, when do you throw the big swim baits? Starting yesterday, if you want to throw a big swim bait, you want to learn how to throw a big swim bait, you do know how, and you want to capitalize on that bite, from now all the way through May is the time to go put your big swim bait on some shallow points and get after their rear ends.
That's right.
Like, it's the time of year to do that. Now, on Lake Fork in particular, there's a whole lot of hands that'll throw that big swim bait. So it's not easy always. There's days where it's real tough to catch them on that big swim bait. But, those big swim bait guys tend to be a one-bite deal. And even though those fish get all the pressure and they don't bite that big swim bait as good on some days, especially here 2 or 3 weeks from now, it'll be hard to catch them on a big swim bait because they'll be seeing a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that being said, on Lake Fork, in the springtime with a big bait in your hands, that one bite deal is a real deal every day. Like, it can happen at any moment, okay? And it can be the biggest fish of your life at Lake Fork. So for all the people that are always asking me that, it's now. Get after it.
Do your research. Look up what kind of bait fish are in the lake that you fish, and match the hatch.
Yeah, around here in Northeast Texas, in the pre-spawn period, in the spawning period, those fish that are staging up to pre-spawn before they go into spawn, to me, in my opinion, they're eating gizzard shad.
Gizzard shad, yeah.
And so I like light hitch colored big swim baits. I like pearl white colored. If the water's dirty, it's real cloudy, I'll throw pearl white. But just shad colored big swim baits. Don't get too creative with it. Don't get too flashy with it. Keep it natural, even in the dirty water. White's good in dirty water, but heck, I've caught them in dirty water on that light hitch.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be, especially on a lake that gets a lot of pressure like Fork. Sometimes having something they can't see as good is a good thing when they're getting a lot of pressure on them. So, yeah, if you like to do the big bait deal, it's time. Get after it.
Another good color that I've had success with in the past is that fork shad. Mm-hmm. That's another good color.
Yeah, and it's just, any shad color can work.
Mm-hmm.
Light hitch is my favorite, and pearl white's my go-to for dark, dirty conditions. But fork shad with that gray back and that kind of gray silverish belly. Chartreuse shad, same thing with the chartreuse stripe in it.
Right.
Man, those hitch colors, dark hitch, regular hitch, the IU, all those swim bait colors can work.
Yeah.
It's probably a personal preference deal for me, though. It's like light hitch and pearl is kind of the main two that I roll with.
Yeah, I roll with light hitch and fork shad. That's just, again, it's a confidence deal. But I will throw that white one in muddy water, like you're saying, because it gives off that big glow profile, if you will. And
just a hard color, a hard solid color that creates a better profile in that dirtier water.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah. So another thing too, you were talking about the big bite deal, now through May.
Yeah.
Are you excited to throw around a big bluegill as the spring progresses? During that little bluegill?
A big bluegill swim bait?
Yeah.
So I've got one in my boat right now. I wish I thought, if I know we were going to get into this, I'd have brought it out here to show the people watching on YouTube. I've got a small bluegill glide bait that's a floater.
Really?
That when they get up on beds or when the brims start bedding, I'm going to toss that thing. I'm going to get close to the bank line, parallel bank line, and just let it meander and wander ever so slowly. And here's the deal, and the beautiful thing about that bait, I'm going to catch some big fish on it. I'm pretty sure. I've never thrown it before, but I think I'm going to catch some big fish on it, but I'm going to see a lot of fish.
Yeah.
They're going to tell on themselves, and then I'm going to have that old clout stick bait ready to go. And when they flash on that glide bait and show themselves to me on that floater, I'm going to pitch that clout stick bait in there and I'm going to catch them. And what's really going to be cool as a fishing guide is I'm going to take that glide bait and run down the bank with it. And every time one flashes on, I'll be like, okay, Mr. Customer, throw your stick bait in there and catch
That's
it.
right.
And it's going to make me, I'll be like, hey, throw that stick bait right over there. And then they're going to catch an 8-pounder. And they're going to be like, dude, you're the best fishing guide ever.
That's the move.
Yeah, that's how we're going to do that. So secret's out on that deal. I'm not really that good. I'm just got a cheater bait.
Cheater bait.
Old cheater bait.
Yep.
But the brim will come into play also. If you like to sight fish, there'll be some fish on beds right now going forward. We got a full moon on March 9th. That'll put even more of them on beds. It's a little bit of a challenge to find water clean enough to sight fish. But if we stay fairly warm, which it looks like we will until March 9th, there will literally be the very first initial wave of fish all over even the south end of the lake. Some of the pockets on the south end of the lake will even start getting fish in them spawning as early as here in the next week or two with that full moon on March 9th. And then we got another new moon 2 weeks after that, and then a full moon on April 8th. And, it's just, dude, it's all happening. It's all happening. And the lake's a little flooded right now. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not flooded. It's at full pool, and they pulled it down a little below full pool. But we've got a lot of cover, a lot of shoreline vegetation, bushes, and right area. Dude, the frog bite's going to be ridiculous this year. There's a lot of areas on Lake Fork right now that you look at them and you go, man, I want to throw a frog in there, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be a frog bite to be had from way back. Starting today, going forward. Today's the day. It's water's in the 60s now. Start throwing your frogs too. Like, it's all happening. That's why we love spring fishing. So many big fish. All the fish in the pond are up shallow, predictable areas, accessible areas that you can fish. And you can kind of start to catch them however you want to catch them. If you're a dragger, you can go over and drag a Texas rig around, a Cinco around, and catch them. If you're a moving bait guy, you can throw a chatterbait or a square bill or a big swim bait. You know, if you're a topwater guy, you can start throwing your frogs and your poppers, and here pretty soon we'll be throwing walking baits. And man, all this stuff is starting to happen. You can kind of pick your poison and do what you want to do with whatever you have confidence in.
Yep. I do want to talk about one thing. Will you talk about jig color transition?
Yeah, this is the
Because
time of year
this is
where
the
I
time
train.
of year.
Yeah, so
Yes.
and you can still throw a black and blue right now and get bit, no doubt. Water, especially right now with the water being a little dirty from all the rain. But yeah, for right now, this is when I kind of transition from a black and blue jig over to a green and brown jig. And that's really the only two jig colors that I even mess with.
Yeah.
Is black and blue and green and brown. I really don't pick up any other jig colors, to be honest with you.
You're like Gerald Swindle. He says the same exact thing, and he said that several years ago, and it kind of put into perspective of me. Like,
you know, it's funny. You talk to a lot of the pros, and color is one of the things they have. I mean, we all have our little things, our little quirks. You know, our little unique deal that we feel like is a little unique. Like me with the orange on the black and blue jig. Yeah, it's something a little quirky, a little weird that I do. For the most part, you talk to any tour pro, anybody that does it for a living, you get in their boat, start looking at colors. They got green pumpkin, they got black and blue, they got a watermelon seed, and a white. That's it. That's all they got. I mean, it's a watermelon with some type of flake usually is in there, you know. So you got a translucent green, a dark green, a black and blue, and a white. That's basically what is in every professional fisherman. The guys that make their living on the water solely from fishing, that's what's in their box. They don't have all this crazy, you know.
Yep.
There's unique things, methylate worms for some guys, or you know, a June bug or whatever.
some of those dream shot colors or whatever the case.
You know, just there's always a little variance here and there, but for the most part, and really honestly, for the most part, those guys are throwing green pumpkin or black and blue.
Yep.
90% of the time.
You know, and I'm not saying all those colors don't get bit, but there's baits that catch fish and there's baits that catch fishermen, and I'm a firm believer in that.
Well, to me, when you're trying to break down a technique or pick a technique or decide what, you know, how am I going to catch these fish? How am I going to get them to bite? There's like 4 factors, basically. I think it's 4. I may add a factor. I reserve the right to add a factor if I need to. But there's kind of like a few things that you need to figure out. First thing to me is the depth that you fish in, okay? The next thing you need to figure out is size profile of the bait they're eating, which you need to match with your technique. You need to match your whatever lure you're using, size profile, to the bait they're eating, that size profile, okay? The third thing you need to figure out is the action. Do they want it moving? Do they want it hopping? Do they want it dragging? Do they want it sitting dead still? Third is the action. So you got 1, 2, 3 in that order, and 4th is color. And it's like this for the folks that are watching on the camera. My first 3 fingers are close together. My 4th one's way over here. Color to me is by far the least important out of those 4 things.
Well, because you do the first 3 the correct way, number 4 really doesn't matter.
You most of the time it really doesn't matter. Like the color, like you can catch them a lot of different types of colors, but if you get them first 3 right, bud, you can make a day out of it. Now, if you get the depth right, the bait profile right, and the action right, that color can be a non-factor a lot of times. A lot of times. So, is there moments when that color is a big deal? Yeah, there is. And the fish will tell you, you know, if you've got everything else right and you're confident in what you're doing and they're not biting and you change the color and you get bit, hey, that color matters.
Yeah.
But usually it doesn't matter.
Right. Which, that deal right there, you probably already had the first 3 right. And then...
Yeah,
maybe
that's what I mean. If you
yeah.
feel like you've got those first 3 right and you're pretty confident about it, then you start experimenting with colors.
Go fishing. Yep.
Make sure you get the depth, the bait profile, and the action right before you worry about the color.
That's right. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, for an example, let's say we want to crank these shallow points in the wind, square billing, and I'm throwing a Crush 50, and I'm throwing it in a shad color because I feel like they're eating shad, and I'm not getting bit. Well, I'm gonna go up to a Crush 100. And then I'm going to go up to a 3.8 mini mag. Then I'm going to go up to that Magnum square bill. Before I worry about getting off the shad color and throwing a crawl color or something like that, before I change colors, I'm going to throw all my different sizes of square bills, okay? And I'm going to change my retrieve, play with my retrieve, okay? And I'm going to throw crankbaits that go different depth before I worry about color. I'll keep throwing that shad color, and I'll figure out all those other 3 things and make sure I got those right before I worry about changing colors.
Yep. That's the best way to describe it right there.
Yeah.
I feel like. Good. A good little recap of kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah,
I'm
there's our
excited.
fishing conditions. Now, listen, there's been a lot of tournament fishing, big time tournament. We like to talk. Listen, we're fans of the sport. We're passionate about bass fishing. We love bass fishing. And at the highest level, that is the Bass Pro Tour and the Bassmaster Elite Series. And Bass Pro Tour just finished up on Lake Okeechobee.
They did.
And,
Jacob Porosnik.
yeah, Porosnik.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hammer. He won the Okeechobee event on... He won the Bass Pro Tour event on Lake Okeechobee, and congratulations to him. That's awesome. Big payday for him. He obviously deserves it. That dude's won on every level he's been on. He's very, very good, established, great tournament bass fisherman. That's a name that in that Bass Pro Tour you've kind of forgotten about a little bit. But dude, he's as good as anybody. Like,
100%.
He's so
yes.
good, and it kind of always has been ever since he showed up on that tour level series when he broke through with the Bassmaster Elite Series. He's very, very, very good. So
I watch every event, and I don't ever forget about him just because every round that he's a part of, he's right there. If he's not leading it for a substantial amount of time or wins the round or whatever the case may be, he's up there.
he's up there, but in that roster, you do kind of tend to forget about him. And for me, you kind of tend to there's so many big names on that tour.
So you want me to round out the top 10?
Yeah, go ahead and give us the top 10 finishes from
So
Okeechobee.
we'll go number 1 with Jacob Porosnik. Number 2 was Michael Neal.
Yep.
Third was Jacob Wheeler.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course he top 5. Randall Tharp at number 4. Surprise, surprise again.
That's not really a surprise because that's
Yeah.
he's a flipper.
Yeah.
And that's a place you can do that.
Jeff Sprague at number 5. Local boy. Congratulations, Jeff Sprague.
Sprague is good everywhere.
Fletcher Shryock at 6.
I guess maybe he is a wolf.
Maybe.
Shots
Maybe.
fired.
Hey, you better keep catching them like that, boy. That comment right there.
Yeah, if you're going to say something like that in the offseason, you better show up and show out.
You talk about living in a shadow.
Yeah.
Number 7, Mr. Jordan Lee.
Good for hey, our podcast guest.
Hey, man. Where you at?
He's next door over there sleeping.
Number 8, Takahiro Mori.
Top, another Lake Fork guy, him and Sprague. That's good.
Number 9, Zach Burge.
There you go, good hand right
And
there.
number 10, round up the top 10, James Elam.
There's so many good fishermen on that tour.
Dude.
And that's not even the big names in that 10, but dude, that's such a good top 10.
10 through 20's got plenty of big names in
No,
it. It's crazy.
There is one thing that I want to talk about with this Okeechobee tournament, and this is going to turn into a bit of a rant here in a minute. We're going to discuss it, and then I'm probably going to go off here in a little bit because this is something that, like, we'd be better off start talking about Obama than talk about spraying grass. And we're fixing to talk about some of the fish catching results that these guys, the most star-studded roster of bass fishing talent that's ever been created, goes to Lake Okeechobee, one of the most legendary lakes of all time. And to be honest with you, bro, it sucked.
It was bad.
Like, it sucked.
The qualifying rounds were terrible.
I mean, this is Lake freaking Okeechobee, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Just think about some of those Elite Series events back in the day if they could have counted every fish they caught.
Oh, God. I mean, Ish broke 100 pounds in 4 days, counting only 5 of his fish.
Mm-hmm.
He would have had 1,000 pounds. You know, I don't know what he would have had for all of his days combined.
That's what I'm saying. Timmy Horton.
I know, man. It's Lake Okeechobee. And let's look back on the qualifying
Here,
rounds.
you can go in order there. Go with day 1.
Here's what I like to look at. And folks, when you're looking at tournament fishing, everybody likes to look at the top and be like, man, those guys caught them. Like, last year, Lake Fork, the Bassmaster Elite Series, Brandon Cobb caught 115 pounds, whatever it was before this. Very respectable. It's a very good tournament. It's one of the top 5 weights of all time in Elite Series history. Very good tournament. But if you looked at the bottom half, you saw the results of the lake flooding the night before the tournament. Mm-hmm. Like, and I've said this several times, but if they would have fished the tournament the 4 days before they started, the old record would have stood no chance, and everybody would have whacked them because all the guys were catching 30-pound bags most days with their customers. Like, we were whacking them, and then the lake flooded the night before the tournament started, and it made the fishing real tough. So yes, 4 days, 115 pounds. That's tough fishing on Lake Fork. It is. And if you looked at the bottom half, so when you're looking at tournament, my point is when you look at tournament results, don't just look at those top 10 guys. Don't just look at that winning weight. Look down the list at number 40 and number 50. And that will give you a much more realistic barometer over like what the lake is It's a much more realistic measurement of how the lake's really fishing.
Because every tournament that ever happens in the history of ever, somebody runs into them.
Somebody runs and somebody struggles.
That's right.
And if you look at the guys in the middle, it tells you a lot. Now, here is something that is just
mind-blowing is a good word.
Mind-blowing. So I've heard all these rumors about how bad the spraying's been at Okeechobee the last couple of years. And what a dive, it's, all the problems it's caused. We're talking about Lake Okeechobee, folks. Okay, Lake Okeechobee. Now, I'm going to list some names, and this is the first day of the qualifying round in Group 1, Group A. These are people that caught 0 fish for 0 pounds. Listen to these names. Timmy Horton, Stephen Browning, Paul Elias, Marty Robinson, Jordan Lee, Jeff Sprague, who did a comeback, Greg Vincent, Brent Ayler, Brandon Coulter. Andy Morgan had 1 fish for 2 pounds. Gary Klein had 1 fish for 2 pounds. Alton Jones had 1 fish for 2 pounds. Jeff Crete had 1 fish for 2 pounds. And there's names in between. Todd Faircloth had 2 fish for 4 pounds, and he's one of the best grass fishermen on earth. Greg Hackney had 2 fish for 4 pounds. Like, this is Okeechobee and during the spawn time. Okay, so let's go to day 2 of Group A. After 2 days of fishing, still with 0 fish, we have Greg Vincent and Marty Robinson for 2 whole days. Now, I'm aware that Greg Vincent and Marty Robinson aren't the biggest tour names on earth, but they're a whole lot better than me and you are. They're a whole lot better than all you guys that are listening to this podcast. And they went to Lake Okeechobee and caught 0 for 2 days. To qualify, to be in the top half of Group A, to qualify, okay, you needed, make sure I'm doing this right. To qualify, you needed, Mark Daniels Jr. was the last one to qualify, 7 fish for 17 pounds.
On Okeechobee.
In 2 days, counting every fish. 2 days counting every fish. That made the cut. All right, let's go to Group B. Oh, I'm sorry.
You were on Group B.
I was on Group B. No, I'm on Group A.
Oh, okay.
No, I was on Group B. Okay, here's Group A. I apologize. My bad, folks. Off the rails again, number 2. That's how we do it. In Group A. Oh, good grief. In Group A, the first day, 0 fish. Zach Burge, comeback. Russ Lane, Mark Davis, Jason Christie, Casey Ashley, Brent Height, who's won on Okeechobee as a grass hammer. Bobby Lane, who grew up down there. Like, what? What? These people are zeroing on Lake Okeechobee? Okay, let's go to Group A after 2 days. Let's see what happened. Again, not just 2 zeros, 3 zeros for 2 days. Bobby Lane didn't catch a fish in this tournament on Lake Okeechobee, folks. I want you to wrap your stinking heads around it. How tough does fishing have to be for Bobby Lane not to be able to catch 1 2-pound fish? I mean, throw a Yamasenko or something. I mean, come on, dog. Like, what?
Big fish Bobby Lane.
Brett Height and Casey Ashley. All 3 of these guys caught 0 fish for 2 days. That doesn't say bad things about Brett Height, Casey Ashley, and Bobby Lane. That says a lot of bad things about Lake Okeechobee. Okay, let's see what the cut line was in Group A. The cut line in Group A took 17 pounds. 5 fish for 17 pounds. And I apologize, I lied earlier. The cut line in Group B, which I was saying was Group A at first, was Mark Daniels Jr. It was 13 pounds for 2 days. Made the top half of the field. That's unbelievable. The leading weight for 2 days was 11 total fish for 33 pounds on Lake Okeechobee. The leading weight.
And you would expect to see 40 at least. At least.
Minimum.
And I'm talking about...
I would expect this time of year, February on Lake Okeechobee, I would expect 40 pounds to qualify.
Well, and I'm just basing that off of 5 fish.
I know, based on 5 fish. I would expect to see a 40-pound over 2 days to be like the qualifying number. Not the I'm whipping everybody and running away from it number. Like, that's insane, man. In Group B, The leading total weight for 2 days was 32 pounds, so pretty consistent there. And folks, they're not catching babies here, okay? He only caught 8 fish. Jordan Lee won Group B in the qualifying round for the first 2 days. He only caught 8 fish for 32 pounds.
I know.
That's a 4-pound average. He's catching big ones.
Yeah.
The best 5, it wouldn't have been any better. He didn't even fill out a best 5 limit. Knockout round, it got better. Knockout round, it did get better. No doubt about it. It got better. David Dudley zeroed in the knockout round. Todd Faircloth caught 1 for 2 pounds. Chris Lane, Bobby's brother, who also knows that lake like the back of his hand, caught 2 for 4 pounds. Okay, that's the bottom. Top, Jacob Wheeler had a pretty decent day, but not for Okeechobee. 10 pounds for 10 fish for 35 pounds. Largest fish, 515, which appears they had a 7-pounder and 6-pounder caught. The bottom qualifying weight was 27 pounds. So better.
But still not Okeechobee.
I mean, that's pretty good. 35 pounds for 1 day. That's every fish counts. 10 fish for 35 pounds.
Right. 17-pound average.
Yeah. I mean, his best 5 would have been 20-something. So that's a better day.
Oh, you said 12 fish. That's right. Okay.
No, he had 10 fish. His best 5, I'm guessing some of them were bigger than others. So his best 5 would have been in the 20-something pound range. I don't know what it would have been. So that's better. But that's only one guy out of the field. That's not like everybody's catching them.
I was looking at it as 2 limits.
Championship round, better. Championship round better for sure. Porosnik won with 15 fish for 49 pounds. But there was guys even in the championship round, guys that have been on fish, been catching fish. This is only the top 10 guys. So these guys have been catching them better than anybody in the best field that has ever been created. These guys have been catching them better than anybody, and you had guys go out and catch 2 fish for 4 pounds. And Zach Burge caught 2 fish for 6 pounds, and Talk caught 4 fish for 9 pounds, and Jordan Lee only caught 3 for 15. Like, what? This is Lake Okeechobee in February when they're spawning. Like, guys, this is irrefutable evidence that spraying grass is horrible for the wildlife in the lake. This is beyond a selfish bass fishing conversation at this point. As bass fishermen, we all have some role in being. As bass fishermen, we all have some role of conservationists in us. Like, part of us is a conservationist. You know, if you're a hunter, a fisherman, then you want to conserve the outdoors. And the funny thing is, all these parks and wildlife departments across all these states are supposed to be there to preserve and conserve the outdoors. And they're the ones approving this plan to go spray. Obviously, this is bad for the wildlife. Like, way worse than anything that vegetation is doing for them.
And you can't just tell me that the bass are the only ones affected. The bait is probably equally affected. Yeah.
That's my point. Yeah. It's not even, it's an ecosystem thing at this point, dude. It's not about bass fishing.
Yeah.
You're literally killing off our outdoor resources by spraying these poisonous chemicals. I've seen them spray. They sprayed Lake Fork more last year than I've ever seen them spray. And, dude, there was nothing significant there to spray. There was little isolated patches of water hyacinth, which is technically an invasive species. Okay, but there was little isolated patches. 99% of them were hung up in pondweed mats, couldn't even go anywhere. Because the deal with hyacinth is it grows really fast and it floats and it can travel across the lake. It can, if it grows fast enough, it can cause problems. One time in the history of Lake Fork, it was a problem. It choked off a huge portion of Birch Creek, and that got out of control. That was a bad deal. And I can understand having to do something drastic about it in that particular situation. These last couple of years they've been spraying. None of that situation has been there. And they sprayed more last year than I've ever seen them spray. I mean, it's a governmental contract. Here comes my inner conspiracy theorist, but somebody's brother-in-law's got a spraying contract up there at Texas Parks and Wildlife because they're approving this thing like, yep. Just go ahead and spray it. And there's nothing to spray. All they're doing is killing fish and healthy grass. Like they're killing coontail, they're killing hydrilla, they're killing pondweed, they're killing all the good stuff for the ecosystem in the water. They're killing that. And they're killing fish. And they sit there and here's what bothers me the most about it. They have the nerve to look you in the daggum eye and say, hey, This doesn't affect the fish. This doesn't hurt. These chemicals, they only kill the surface vegetation. It doesn't even hurt the underwater vegetation. It doesn't hurt the hydrilla, the coontail. It doesn't hurt the bass, not one bit. Folks, that is a lot. I have watched it go down. I'm on the lake every day, and I'm telling you, I saw it with my own two eyes. Running Creek, 2 or 3 years ago, had quite a bit of hyacinth in it. Wasn't affecting the lake, wasn't bothering anything down the lake, but up in the upper end of Running Creek, there was about 100 acres or so, give or take, that was all hyacinth, except for the creek channel where it flowed, where the water flowed in. Those fish at the end of August, early September, when they should be poor, when they should be, at the end of summer, they should be skinny, these fish were fat and healthy because there was tons of hydrilla, tons of coontail, tons of hyacinth mats for them to get shade under. We were catching fish up there. These fish were healthy. They were fighting strong. I mean, these fish looked like they were pre-spawn in August, man. And I've got pictures and video to document this. They sprayed in September. 3 weeks later, in the beginning of October, I'm up there fishing and filming, and we're catching multiple fish that are bone rail skinny, slime all over their skin. They're dying. They're dying. Heck, I caught one that was 25 inches long that didn't weigh 6 pounds. I mean, these fish were dying. They were so rail skinny, you turn them, headlong towards the camera, and it was just a little strip of fish left. I mean, they were dead pretty much. They were almost dead. And it would be one thing if I caught 1 or 2 that looked like that. Okay,
right, yeah.
A couple old sick fish.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we caught 3 or 4 in a day that were like dying, and caught many others that were no longer fat. They weren't as far gone, but they still had the slime on their skin. Their skin was infected. They were dying.
Mm-hmm.
They were sick. So for them to sit there and try to tell me it doesn't hurt the fish, that's a lie. And that's wrong. Like, it's wrong for a government agency to just sit there and bold-faced lie to you so they can keep their spraying contract going or whatever their reasoning is. Their science may show that it's good and their science is wrong.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They need to redo their science. It's wrong. I'm telling you, their science can say whatever it wants to. My eyeballs have seen it, Jack. And then they say it doesn't kill the hydrilla and coontail. Go up to the north end of Little Caney right now, where I have a video of them spraying this year. By the way, at the end of summer, I have a video of them spraying this year at the north end of Little Caney. Go up there and look for some coontail right now. Go look. Go look at my videos from last summer and look at how much coontail was up there. Man, we catch a fish, he'd be dressed up in head dressing.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you going to tell me it doesn't hurt that vegetation under the water? When that creek was choke full of mats,
mm-hmm.
and now there's none. And I've got video of them just spray, and they don't just spray like, oh, well, here's a piece of hyacinth, spray it. Dude, that's what they say they do. I've got video evidence. They literally take that gun and spray it across that mat, and it shoots, and the wind blows that stuff everywhere. I mean, here's the other thing that bothers me. They sit there and say, oh, it's not harmful to the animals, yet they're wearing masks while they spray it.
What about...
Why, if it doesn't harm the animals, why you got to wear a mask?
What about people who eat fish that they catch out of these lakes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's all bad, dude. Like, it's all bad. And they put all these, what's funny is they put these consumption warnings on these lakes. If you look on Texas Park Wildlife, mm-hmm. It's always where they've sprayed.
Hmm.
But it doesn't hurt the fish, though, folks. It doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt anything in the...
It's good.
It only kills that targeted, isolated surface vegetation. That's all it does. But you got to have a consumption ban when you spray.
But don't eat that crappie. Don't eat that bass.
And you got to wear a mask to spray it. But it doesn't hurt anything.
So really, it's good for the lake.
I mean, listen, Texas Parks and Wildlife has done a great job with fisheries. Fishing has definitely got better through their efforts. Texas has the best bass fishing on planet Earth in a large part, because of Texas Parks and Wildlife. You guys are wrong in this instance. Like, this spraying has to stop.
Okay.
This should be the very last resort in an utterly catastrophic emergency situation.
Like, for example, the giant Sylvania deal.
Oh, my God.
I understand.
Oh, my God.
But there wasn't any.
There certainly wasn't any significant amount. And here's the other thing that I love about the giant Sylvania and the spraying. They literally have come out and said that spraying does not kill giant Sylvania. But then they say that they're spraying Lake Fork because they found giant Sylvania. Like, I'm going insane, Chris. What?
I know.
How? How is this possible that they think we're this stupid? Or that they are this stupid? Like, how dumb do they have to be to tell us spraying doesn't kill giant Sylvania? we're going to spray now because we found giant Sylvania. Excuse me?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's like talking to a crazy person.
It's like trying to...
Stop it. Stop the freaking spraying. It does no good.
It doesn't. Does nothing but harm.
It does no good. The only reason to spray is because you're owned by rich homeowners and they're bitching about having grass mats on their dock. If they make you spray because they write your check, then I guess you got to. Ain't nobody on Lake Fork bitching because they got a grass mat in front of their dock. Because you know what they'll do on Lake Fork? They'll go to flipping that sucker and catching big ones, and they'll love it because Lake Fork is a fishing lake. There's nobody on Lake Fork that is going to be mad because there's grass in the lake. I've never met one person that told me, man, that grass around my dock sure is a pain in the butt. I've never heard that on Lake Fork. Now, Lake Tyler, some other lakes, like Conroe where I grew up, yeah, I guess if the homeowners are writing your paycheck and you got to do what they say, somehow you're dictate. If they run your show, then okay, I guess you got to do what you got to do. Life is life. Tough breaks in the real world. That's not the case on Lake Fork. Or that's not the case on Lake Caddo. That's not the case on Lake of the Pines. It's not the case. Like, stop freaking spraying. It's stupid. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen Texas Parks and Wildlife do in my entire life. Hands down, no doubt. I hope Texas Parks and Wildlife gets this message. It is dumb. Stop it.
I agree.
Rant over. I'm going to take a chill pill. You got one of them? I think it's called brown water. I need to go get some. Put it in this cup or something. I don't know.
It's like those commercials for if you got cancer, could you use Roundup?
I literally could stay calmer and more civil discussing the totally inept and somewhat evil political policies of the Obama administration.
Yeah.
I'd be better off talking about that. I would get less mad.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll transition us into something that'll make us happy.
Okay, happy. Let's go happy.
2 weeks from now.
You got a tournament coming up that we have a bet on.
Well, I wouldn't call it a bet. You did need to pick the punishment, though, did you?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to pick the punishment on the next episode because we still have that one more episode before that tournament. So.
That's fine. But guess what's in 2 weeks?
What?
The big boys are coming.
Oh, to Lake Fork. Yeah. Yeah, let's transition to something positive about Lake Fork because the bottom line is, despite Texas Parks and Wildlife's efforts to freaking kill the lake, we do still have some big fish swimming around in there.
And they're fixing to get caught, buddy.
Things are lining up. They're coming here March 13th through 18th. Mm-hmm. We got a full moon on March 9th. Like,
it's about to happen.
Bro.
It's about to be dumb.
That whole second and third wave is going to be in there on that pre-spawn deal. And listen, there's going to be guys that are going to go in the backs and catch them on frog and probably some catch them up on beds and catch them flipping. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lane brothers get up there and do their thing with a frog and a flipping rod. Mm-hmm. Chris Lane almost won Toyota Texas Bass Classic flipping and frogging in similar conditions. But, mark my words, the guy that wins it is going to run that same shallow point deal like Brandon Cobb did last year in early May. The guy that wins it is going to run that shallow point deal. And this time, I think it'll be one on a big swim bait. I think we're going to see a tournament get won, a numbers quote-unquote tournament get won on a big swim bait. I think that's going to happen.
That is, okay.
And if that's going to happen, and I know this is local flavor, but if that's going to happen in that field, Jeff Sprague has guided here a lot.
Yeah.
And he really never quit, even though he's been on tour. He's still come back. He's from Edgewood, Texas. He was a great guide on Lake Fork before he broke out on the FLW tour. He was still guiding while he was on the FLW. He's still been doing some guiding even now. Jeff Sprague's good with that big bait. Mm-hmm. Here's the other deal. This big swim bait, this pattern is a shallow point, wind blown, shallow point deal. Current, we don't have current Lake Fork. We have wind current.
Right.
Takahiro Omori has won an Elite Series event on a shallow shell bed, river bar, sandbar with shells on it, okay, with current running over it, on a big swim bait in the top water. Well, he learned that pattern on Lake Fork on these shallow points this time of year. That's where he learned it. Talk still guides out here quite a bit. I still see him on guide trips every year. So, two guys that have current, active, very active, fish it religiously type of knowledge on Lake Fork. Two guys that know this pattern on this lake, that are familiar with throwing those big baits on those points. are going to be in this field. So if I'm making picks, first thing that I want to pick, this is what I'm picking for sure. I'm making the bold prediction of the night. The bold prediction of the night is that this tournament's going to be won on a big swim bait. That's the bold prediction. Probably a line through. I don't know which one because these guys all throw different ones, but it'll be won on a 6 to 9 inch line through swim bait is what it's going to be won on, in my opinion.
I mean, it's definitely the time of year.
And Talk and Sprague are my top 2 picks. For my third pick, and look, this is all local flavor. I'm homer this pick, but I can't go against Kelly Jordan. He's been a guest on the podcast. It was probably my favorite episode we've ever done. Kelly Jordan's probably the most legendary, successful fisherman to ever come out of Lake Fork. He's an idol of mine, a hero of mine, and he's just a great, great guy. So I'm pulling for Kelly. I'm picking Kelly because I want to pull for him. Now, the difference with Kelly and these other 2 guys is Kelly has not fished this lake as religiously as these guys have in the last 5-10 years.
Right.
And the lake has matured a lot, changed a lot. The last time Kelly was fishing Lake Fork every day, there was grass on all these main lake points and deep grass line. It was a different pond back then. Yep. The lake has matured, things have changed. So I'm going to give my nod to Talk and Sprague, but I'm not counting Kelly out because he has a whole lot of knowledge where a whole lot of big fish like to pull up because he has caught a whole lot of big fish out of Lake Fork, probably more than anybody on that tour. So it's hard to not pick Kelly Jordan in that case, but if I had 3 picks, I'm picking all the homeboys. That's just me being a homer. That's me being a fanboy and pulling for my guys as much as anything. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, man. Well, my 3 are going to be a little bit different than that.
All right, let's hear them.
Not a lot different. We're really just one guy different.
Okay.
Okay.
You with me on Talk and Sprague?
I'm with you on Talk.
Okay.
Just because I think Sprague's in the top 5. I really do.
Yeah.
I feel like for sure.
Yeah.
I do. But I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I'm going to go Talk, Ayler, Kelly Jordan.
All right.
Because Brent Ayler, as you very well know, he is as versatile as anybody in that whole entire field.
Let's do a top 5 because I want to do a couple more.
Okay.
Because I'm going to go on, and this goes against what I just said about the pattern will be won on a big swim bait on Shallow Point. I'm going to pick Chris Lane.
Yeah.
Because Chris Lane's previous success at Lake Fork and because the lake is setting up good for him to go frogging and flipping.
He'd have been my number 4.
He's my number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're there. Now, who you got for number? If you had to pick, I guess Sprague will be your number 5.
Sprague being 5.
And who else did you put in there? Ayler.
So I got Ayler. Yeah.
Got Ayler in there, which Ayler won a Texas Bass Classic there.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I want to pick for number 5? Huh.
My 6 would have been Jacob Wheeler, just because it's Jacob
Yeah.
Wheeler.
You know, I'm gonna go something that's gonna shock you. Shocks me a little bit that I'm even thinking this way.
Come on with it.
There's another guy that does not live here and does not guide here, but he has visited, him and his brother have visited Lake Fork quite a bit. And he just had a very good tournament on Okeechobee, and he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and point to prove this year. Fletcher Shryock, who is also good with the big bait in his hands.
He is good. Yep.
He's good with the big bait in his hands, and he has spent significant amount of time on Lake Fork.
Mm-hmm.
I see him. You can't miss him and his brother's crazy trucks.
Dude.
The orange and the green, they're loud. So you can't. So I've seen him around the lake more than I've seen most of them, and I just think he's going to be fishing with everything he's got this year, trying to prove a point.
He's got to.
He kind of has to.
Yeah. I mean, that's really not.
You make those comments he made in the offseason, you got it.
You've got to go.
So there's my top 5: Fletcher, Chris Lane, and then my 3 locals: Kelly, Sprague, Talk.
Okay.
And yours is
I've got
the same, except for instead of Fletcher, you have Brent Ayler.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be none of those guys.
Probably not.
How did nobody put Jacob Wheeler in the top 5? Honorable mention, Jacob Wheeler. You're in there
in
too.
my 6.
Yeah, you're in there too.
But I mean, okay, so I get it, man. And we've talked about Jacob
and
Wheeler
we
before.
might be going frogging and flipping, and we ain't picking Hackney either.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, God, this roster.
Just think about the field.
We didn't pick Brian Thrift.
I was
Like, oh, God.
I was just fixing to say, too, Randall Tharp.
Oh, if it's frogging and flipping, Randall. I mean, dude, this field is so stupid. Like, you could take this field, like, line it up on a dartboard circle, like, put a name on every section of a dartboard, and just start throwing darts at the board, and that's my pick.
No, what you do is you grab 5 darts and you throw them all at once, and you're like, there we go.
There's my top 5.
But literally, it could happen like that.
It could. And this, Edwin Evers, we haven't mentioned him. Haven't even mentioned him.
We're going to end up doing a top 10. Okay, well, now we got to do a top 20.
What if, and this happens, this does happen on that shallow point deal sometimes. What if they start biting a big square bill better than anything else? Okay. Then all of a sudden, KVD, who, by the way, hates Lake Fork, he might not hate it so much if they start biting that big square bill on them shallow points. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, KVD might be like, oh, wait a minute, this is in my wheelhouse. I kind of like Lake Fork all of a sudden. He'll really like it when he starts catching 8-pounders instead of 4-pounders on it. Like, that could happen too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That could happen too.
That rolls right into Edwin Evers' ballpark too.
I mean, Ike Nelly.
Ike Nelly's another one.
Like, it could go anyway. It could go any which way. That's the cool thing about these shootout tournaments, like these where you're gonna have like everybody's gonna hammer down on some big ones. Like when it's a shootout, when it's a slugfest.
Yep.
It brings a lot of things into play, and you're gonna have to really outwork and outfish and out execute everybody. Like, I'm gonna tell you, the guy that's gonna win it is gonna be the guy that lands all them big fish that he hooks. You know what I mean? Like, you can think about half the field, and half the field's gonna be on a good pattern and be catching big fish. And the guy that lands all them big giant fish and all that timber, he's gonna be the one that wins. The guy doesn't lose any heartbreakers.
Right. There's gonna be a lot of guys using a lot of files on a lot of hooks.
Yeah. They'll be restringing every night and everything else, because that's part of the problem. You get on these shallow points, especially the ones that got all this timber on them, and then they got those hard exposed clay, iron ore, mixture of shell, all that stuff that'll nick your line up, bang your line up, like, and you got all that timber, like, bro, you can get taken advantage of by these bass in this lake.
You can run through $200 of Seagull Red Label just in one tournament, easy.
You can get broke off, real quick. Like, you can get broke off, you can get disconnected. It's one of the things about Lake Fork is it's not easy to get them fishing the boat, them big ones.
That's right.
So that'll be probably, like, I'm so excited about this tournament. Might be my favorite tournament to watch that I've ever watched. A, because it's on my home lake. B, because of all the dynamics of Lake Fork. From the big bass to the history, the nostalgia of Lake Fork. This field being what it is with all the names in the BPT field. And on top of that, this new format where how are they going to attack it? Who's going to go back there with a wacky worm and find a drain full of 2-pounders? You know what I'm saying? Because, dude, that can, bro, like, on a lake like Fork, like, if you pull back into Running Creek and that little corner section is full of 2 to 3 pound bass and you're catching them on a wacky worm every cast, like, you can rack up some weight.
And not only that, think about all the cruisers.
I mean, you could catch them fast enough to compete.
And then you can accidentally catch an 8.
On a lake like Fork, like, there can be so many of them sometimes.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you'd accidentally catch an 8 while you're doing it. That's no doubt.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, or a 10 or something, just something stupid. So it could go so many different ways on Fork. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic with this format, with this roster, and Lake Fork and all the history and the big fish factor. This should be one for the books, one to watch. It really should.
I think
I like to pay full attention to my guide customers. I know they pay a lot of money to come with me. Every time, I always remember something that Andrew Grills told me the first year I was guiding. He goes, man, when these people get in your boat with them, it is their day. Some of them saved up money for a long time to book this trip. Some of them, it's the only chance they'll ever get to fish down here in Texas or on Lake Fork. You just remember, it's their day. You need to make sure you make that day as special as you can for them. And I've always tried to remember that and focus on that. So I don't ever do anything. Like, I don't like filming when I have customers in the boat, unless it's a regular and he tells me to or something like that. I don't ever watch the Bassmaster Live or anything, the tour live. I don't ever watch any of that. I don't answer phone calls. I don't answer text. Like, I focus on my customers. When that tournament's going on, like, I'm just going to have a talk with those folks and be like, bro, we're listening to this at least, if not watching it at some point. Like, we're going to be paying a little bit of attention to this today. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah, it's going to be...
Because that's going to be must-see TV for me, that live coverage of that tournament.
I'm gonna get fired from work.
Maybe. You walk that line on a regular basis, though. You'll be all right.
Nah. Call it a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's just a normal Tuesday, folks. Chris thinks he's going to get fired.
So do you think, hold on, time out. The 13th is what day?
What day of the week?
Yeah.
Oh, man, don't you get me the line,
Let
homeboy.
me
The
pull
first is a Sunday, so it's got to be a Saturday.
Let's go.
It's a Saturday. The first is a Sunday.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
Yeah. Huh.
So they're going to be fishing Friday, Saturday for Group A,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, Monday for Group B, then a day off.
Then,
Wednesday and Thursday will be the final 2 rounds.
yep.
The 18th is Thursday.
18th is a Wednesday. So
Oh, so I guess there's no day off.
So it goes Group A, then Group B.
But there's 2 days. So you got the 13th. So you got Group A, Group A, Group B, Group B. Yeah, there's no day off.
So that they go straight into knockout?
After Group B, they'll go straight into knockout.
Oh, okay.
Which to me, that's a little. Let's discuss that for a second.
That's a little bit of a curveball.
Unfair disadvantage for
Group A.
Group A, and an advantage for Group B because they've been on the fish the last 2 days, and Group A hasn't.
Oh, it's the 12th through the 18th.
The 12th, so there is a day off. So it starts on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So Group A will be Thursday, Friday. Mm-hmm. Group B will be Saturday, Sunday. There's another curveball. Group B is getting screwed.
Mm-hmm.
At Lake Fork. So then they'll be off Monday and then fish Tuesday, Wednesday for the last 2 stages.
I want to say that there's a way that you can pull up the actual.
Or do they do this? I don't know.
I think it goes Group A, Group B.
Does it go Group A day 1, Group B day 1, then Group A day 2, Group B day 2?
I think so. I don't.
So Group A is getting screwed because they're the one fishing Saturday. Whoever's fishing Saturday is getting the wrong end of the deal on this thing at Lake Fork.
Oh, yeah.
And Lake Fork in March. Oh, by the way, guess what?
What?
Spring break in Northeast Texas for all the schools.
Oh, gosh.
Half of them start this coming weekend, which puts spring break during the beginning of the tournament.
Yep.
The other half start the next weekend. So that Saturday, every school in Northeast Texas is on a spring break weekend, and it's March, and it's a few days after the full moon, and the MLF is going to be there. Them guys that are fishing that week, whoever's fishing, well, both days, Saturday and Sunday, will be bad, but especially Saturday more than the rest. Like, those guys that draw that day, they ain't never fished in a crowd like they're fixing to fish in. Because, dude, these folks, they travel from all over the place to fish Lake Fork for their one fish of a lifetime, and they're coming here 4 days after full moon on spring break. They ain't letting off of them, dude.
Nah.
They ain't going to yield and get out your way. They trying to catch a 10-pounder, Jack.
And I mean, you can't be mad at them.
I mean,
they're going to earn it.
But
they're going to do it.
That's going to be interesting.
They're going to earn it, but they're going to do it. I'm excited, man. God, I'm excited. So, next episode, y'all will get to hear the punishment if we don't do the thing on the Lake Palestine next weekend.
Yeah. So, recap what the deal is. The deal is, if you don't win, because even though you deny it, you were talking trash about winning this tournament off camera.
Anyways.
He lives on Lake Palestine. For those that are new to this, he lives on Lake Palestine. He's got a 2-day tournament coming up with the club he fishes with on Lake Palestine. Mm-hmm. He was talking trash about winning this tournament. I said, okay, if you don't win it, then the viewers get to pick a punishment. And you have to go. And he agreed that he would do the punishment.
Yep.
Though the viewers suggest punishments, I get to pick the winning
That's
punishment.
Correct.
And you have to do it.
Yeah.
And you agreed to it. So it's win or go home, dude. If you don't win, you're getting some type of situation here.
I feel like Fletcher, and I didn't even do it.
A lot of pressure on you?
No.
You got to fish better than you ever fished in your life.
So for the listeners, here's how the conversation went down. I told Billy about the tournament.
You're about to get lied to, folks at home.
Whatever. Lie again.
Go ahead. Tell another lie.
So I told Billy the date of the tournament and where it was at. And he goes, oh, you got to win that deal, Pod. And I said, yeah, you're right. I should. That's how it went down.
And then I said, in fact, you should so much that if
you do not. That's what he said. And so here we are.
That's not how it went down. I said, "Oh man, you ought to win that deal." He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm going to win that deal." That's how it actually went down. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll win that, no problem."
Yeah, no problem.
So that's where this came into effect.
Yeah, the lake just come up 16 foot and got muddy. It looks like cold coffee.
No, it's too late for excuses now. You've done bought in. In fact, if he didn't think he was going to win it, why would he agree to the punishment process, folks at home? I'm just telling you. It's irrefutable evidence, like spraying grass hurts fish, that he must have thought he was going to win if he decided to say, yes, I will accept punishment if I don't win. So all you guys that are on his trail, and I know some of y'all do actually listen to this, just know he is confident that he's so confident he's going to win this tournament against y'all that he's willing to accept whatever punishment I choose out of the viewer comments.
So
Please comment some good stuff, guys. We've got some really good ones already. Give me more options. I want more.
So if it's like if it's some kind of like costume deal, do I have to wear that at my next tournament?
That's right.
What he said? Yeah.
Yeah. If I choose an outfit punishment, you have to wear it at your next tournament. So the guys on that club that are listening to this podcast can enjoy the punishment thereof.
And I already ruled out food. I'm not eating nothing nasty.
You did say that.
Yeah.
Not eating anything nasty. But give us some good punishment ideas for Christina over here.
I'm allergic to everything that I don't like.
Apparently he's allergic to winning tournaments because he don't ever win them. When's the last time you had a W?
Oh God, it's been a long time.
It's a lot of confidence for a man that can't remember his last W.
Well, I didn't have a boat for a while.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There were several years where I didn't have a boat.
Surely your last W isn't when we did the guides tournament together. That's not it? Because that's been like 4 or 5 years ago now.
I had a couple after that. Won a couple Palestine Monday Nighters. Won one Palestine Monday Nighter on something crazy.
Yeah, I remember that deal. That was good. Well, man, let's wrap this one up, man.
Yeah, man, it's a good one.
I've got to go update the Fish Lyfe app.
Woo!
If you folks have been catching fish on some new spots on the Fish Lyfe app this week, that's what's about to happen. We're about to go update that. So.
Yep, you gotta go check that thing out.
Yep.
There has been.
If you don't know what the Fish Lyfe app is, click that link in the description and go check it out.
Yep. Well, Billy, I'd better go pre-fish.
You'd better go pre-fish. Folks at home, we appreciate you listening very much. Hey, do us a favor. Check out our sponsor, 6centsfishing.com. If you go over to 6centsfishing.com and decide to order anything, punch in the code Your Lake Fort Guide. Get yourself a 10% discount on all orders. Smash Tech Baits, which will probably win the Elite Series event. You might go buy you some of those as well.
Elite Series event, BPT.
Oh, I mean, the BPT might win the Elite Series too. I don't know. They're coming here in early June. I don't know. Might be a little late. We might be a little deeper. Might be a deep swim bait by then. We'll see how that goes on the Elite Series. Yeah, 6 Cents, Smash Tech taking care of us. Lures, reels, all that good stuff. Skeeter boats, Nautical Mile Marine. If you need a skeeter boat or you need any kind of boat, whether it's aluminum boats, pontoon boats, even the Tupperware Captain kayaks are all available down there at Nautical Mile Marine. They will take excellent care of you. Get you in something that looks just as sexy as this thing sitting behind me for those watching on the YouTube content. What do you think about that deal?
I love that boat.
That boat is pretty darn sexy. I'm very, very happy with that boat. Hey, most importantly, thank each and every one of you guys for listening. As always, y'all are what makes the engine tick around here, so we appreciate y'all. CB, hit them with your thing.
Bazinga!
So dumb.